Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Game Boy game which I have not done in a while, and it happens to be another game of Stop in the title, and that is Stop That Roach. Because if you don't stop it, you're going to kill us all. So this game is developed and published by Koei, and was released in 1994 in Japan and North America. And it's a puzzle strategy game. But this is not like your typical Koei strategy game. You know the kind, the one that has to do with the Three Kingdom era, the Sengoku era, and the one about horse racing. Yeah. So this one is all about roaches, which is quite possibly one of the most oddball things that they've ever done. Now what's interesting to note is that this game in Japan is called Hoi Hoi Game Boy Ban, and this game happens to be a remake since the original game is also called Hoi Hoi, but it was only released in Japan and it was for the PC 8801 and the FM7. So it's kind of interesting how this game is actually a remake. So anyways, let's talk about the game. So there are two characters you can pick from. You can pick Ken or Lily. So the game is in a top-down perspective and you gotta make a certain amount of moves. So the main objective is to kill all the roaches before they reach the pie or the banana or whatever the food is. So you have a limited amount of moves and you have a limited amount of options to use. So there's walking, which just allows you to take steps, but you can only take about like 5 steps. There's the shouting, which allows the roaches to move, and you get certain weapons depending on the level. So you can get a shoe, which has a range of 1 square. Then there's the broom, which has a bit more range, but you can only kill 1 roach with it. But if another roach is in range, it will allow them to move. Then there's the bug spray, which looks like it has a range of a Tetris piece. So you gotta eliminate all the roaches on the field before all you use up your turns. So when all your turns are up, they'll try to move towards the cake and they'll eat it, and when that happens, you lose. But one thing that is a little bit stupid is that sometimes they won't eat the cake and they'll just fly away, but when that happens, you still lose. I mean, wouldn't it be better if they just like ran away and not eat the cake whatsoever? I don't know. But later on, there are some levels that allow you to make a trap, and you can place a trap wherever you want as long as it's not where the X's are. So once you place it, you gotta pass or turn and then allow the roaches to move on their own. And this part can be a little bit tricky since you don't know when their pattern will be. So it's one of those games where you gotta think about what you gotta do and where you wanna move. Hence why this game is known for being a strategy game. But I will say this game really does get pretty challenging, especially in the later stages. But for the most part, it is a fairly simple game, but it definitely does take some trial and error, especially the first time you play this. Because let me tell you, when I was first playing this game, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. But it didn't take me too long to figure that out. But I definitely did have a hard time with some of the later stages though. But thankfully, there is an answer option which does like do the whole thing for you, but it doesn't feel as satisfying when you do that, and I think it does penalize you later on, but I haven't actually did it enough times. But for the most part, the game is fairly easy to understand, but definitely does get really challenging later on. So that's all I have to say about the gameplay, so now let's move on to the other things, like the graphics. And I'd say for a Game Boy game, it does look pretty good. So you have to keep in mind that obviously because it is on a Game Boy, that means it's not in color. But everything does look very simple, everything is easy to know what it is, like you know what the roaches are, you know what the dude looks like, you know what the food looks like, and the icons, and all that stuff. So there's not a whole lot to say, but it is very simple looking and easy to understand what everything looks like. But at least the little animations that happen are pretty funny looking, so that's a good thing. But overall, no real complaints. Now, when it comes to the game's music, the music is kinda decent. Now, the music is pretty interesting in one way, is that a lot of the songs sound like classical music done in 8-bit, which I do think is kinda cool. But sadly, some of the music is not rendered properly, because some of the notes do have that really high-pitched sound, which can get annoying after a while. In fact, that's just the music in general. It does get, like, kind of repetitive. But thankfully, in the middle of the game, you can change the music, so you have Theme A, Theme B, Theme C, and then off if you just want pure silence. But I do have to say, I do like Theme B. So overall, when it comes to the music, I do think it's generally okay. It's not great, but it's at least decent at best. Now, if you want to buy this game, sadly, this game is a little bit more on the rare side. So if you want to get a loose cart, the game costs about $35 to $45. Now, personally for me, I don't think that's a whole lot, but that is kind of a lot for a regular Game Boy game though. But if you want to get a complete in-box copy, well, that's going to be well over $100. And this is a game I've actually never seen at a store before, so yeah, this game is going to be pretty tough to find. Which is kind of a shame, but oh well, shit happens. So before I do the rating, I have to say a couple things here. Is that one, holy shit, this review is very short. And secondly, I said in my update video that I was not going to do the rating thing anymore, and I said that this was going to be the last episode to ever have the rating score. So let's make one final farewell. So anyways, if I were to rate this game, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. So yes, this is a pretty decent puzzle game, and it is fairly fun, though it isn't like the best puzzle game I ever played on the Game Boy, but I do think it is fairly interesting, it's unique, and it is also kind of funny. But I will admit one thing, the game does get pretty addicting though. So if you like a puzzle strategy game that involves roaches that is pretty different, then yeah, I would recommend it, but you just gotta be careful with some of the prices, since some of them are kinda high. Or there's always the option of emulation if you like, but either way, as long as you're playing the game, then it's really all that counts. And of course, if you really enjoy it, then hey, that's great. So my overall general thoughts on this game is that it definitely is a pretty decent game, and it's also one of the most off-ball games that Koei has ever done. Then again, one of those like horseback racing games that they have definitely does have a really strange ass fucking cover, but anyways, with that being said, it's not bad. So that'll be the end of this one, so thanks for watching and commenting.